Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, October 22nd. It's me, Chris, and of course, we have the Jimmy.
What's happening, Chris?
What's going on, man?
We are
We've
T
been fucking
minus
no,
two
we've been fucking
weeks.
we've been fucking slacking on this podcast, is what we've been doing.
I'd say taking some necessary time to
mental
decompress.
mental health days.
Yeah, right. I mean, hey, it's the I don't know, the level of intensity has risen lately, and we
Yeah,
are approaching a breaking point.
yeah. Well, and I'm kind of glad, you were just saying 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today is the day.
Wow.
And so I thought it would be an interesting thing to. So let's do it this way. Prediction today for who wins the presidency, who wins the House, who wins the Senate with numbers.
Mm.
And then next week we can modify if next week's our last week to modify, and then we go with those numbers.
I think I'm really terrible at this. I'm very good at like general predictions, like the who's going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm not going to be great at the details of the numbers, and I'm very biased.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well,
I have a hard time explaining what I think is going to happen on the Democratic side, and I have a hard time giving like any states
mm-hmm.
to to the Democrats. I really,
Yeah.
because for me, the entire country sees what's going on as a whole. There's some loud individuals, but they see the absolute disaster of a campaign
Yeah.
that the Democrats have run the entire time. They've run. I mean, I would be I'd be in a totally different boat if they ran a legitimate,
Yeah.
um, and I say legitimate only in the sense of like a charismatic, because that's all
Right.
they want. That's
There's
all they
some sort
want
of
is,
energy to it.
yeah, somebody who seems presidential.
Mm-hmm.
And we, unfortunately, Kamala Harris may have fit that bill had she just like come out of nowhere. And she's a youngish female, minority female, uh, who looks, very business esque, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe doesn't, uh, maybe doesn't, talk a lot. She's not
Yeah.
overly, uh, I guess they wouldn't have seen everything that we've seen so far.
Right.
We've known her for a couple of years, and we know she's crazy, and she offers nothing, and she cackles and word salads all over the place.
Yeah.
So that negates it right there. But I'm thinking of like a Gavin Newsom type guy. I
Mm-hmm.
he, I don't think Trump would have a chance,
Yeah. Maybe.
even with the clear economic situation we're in.
Yeah. Well, I think I mean, I thought about this a little earlier. So I'm thinking Trump wins. I don't. I think Trump gets at least 292 electoral votes.
You may need to check your camera.
Oh, did I freeze? Can you still
We're
hear
still,
me?
I can still hear you. Yeah, well, I think
All
we're
right.
good.
Well, I'll mess with it while we're talking.
Yeah.
I think that um, he gets at least 290.
Ah, man. I wonder if I'm still alive because we lost Chris. Chris had a bold estimate of 290 electoral votes cast for Donald Trump. That's a clear win. Um, we'll see. But I'm still alive. Chris is making it back in. I see Chris rejoined. Is the audio good?
I can hear you.
Good. Well, I kept it going the whole time.
Yeah, I heard you. I could hear you the whole time.
Okay, good. Well, I couldn't hear you or see you.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think I actually leaned on the corner of the cord of my camera and shut it
Whoops.
off. Oopsie.
Well,
Um,
see if was I accurate?
yeah, yeah. So I think Trump gets at least 292 electoral votes, um, which of course makes him the president. Um, I think that in the House, I think that the Republicans keep the majority, although I don't think that they win. I think that I think they have 218 now. I think they only go up to like 222. So I
Hmm.
don't think it's a sizable increase. And then I think the Senate also goes to the Republicans, and I think they're 51 or 52. Uh, I think 51 for sure, 52 high end.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I mean,
that's just,
I would definitely say because of the state of the economy, because of the state of the country, that the Republicans will take it. They'll sweep.
yeah, I think
I
so.
really, I really think that they have to. I'd be curious where they may lose ground or lose seats.
Well, here's your indication. Here's your indication of what the Democratic Party is really feeling about this whole thing. You have three congressmen, Democrats, that all came out with ads this week saying how they supported Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
I mean,
how
nothing,
many
nothing,
seats?
nothing says, "Oh shit, we're about to lose." Like, you know, putting out, paying money, millions of dollars, to put out an ad campaign saying you supported him while he was president.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then how many uh, converted since the last
Yeah,
election,
yeah,
basically, or
there's
at least abandoned the Democratic Party
yeah,
in some capacity. And then surprisingly, what we're apparently seeing is the Republicans are dominating. I don't know about dominating, but they're showing up to early vote.
yeah, yeah. Certainly an increase from any other time that early voting has been a thing. Well, I think the percentages that I heard were, I think in 2020 it was, I don't know, I can't remember what they said, like 6% or something like that, and it's already at like 12 or 13 or 14%, which is a huge increase.
Yeah.
Uh, because think about it, the last election was only won by 42,000 votes total. Now, I always have a problem with this because I don't, either they vote early or whether you vote early or you vote day of election, it's still the same amount of people that vote.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
don't,
well,
I don't know. I don't know as though you can say that just because Republicans are voting early, that it's an increase in the Republican population that's voting.
well, I don't know about that. I would, because if I was going to apply some analysis to it, I would say that traditionally the Democratic voters have been the ones to early vote or mail in vote, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it's just those people that are either tending to do that. So, um, I mean, I guess we don't know. So, let me backtrack and say, I'm surprised that we can even tell. So, we can tell that Republicans or Democrats voted. We just can't tell who they voted for. Is that like
Well, and that's another bizarre
the
thing to me
twist?
too, because I mean, how are they judging it?
Yeah.
Because if by all accounts from these states that have all this super early voting, we're not allowed to look at the ballots until election day, how the hell do they know? Unless they're doing exit polling, but where do you do exit polling from? These people are like, are they doing
No,
exit polling from places where people can go physically go and early vote, or
no, well, no. I mean, I guess my understanding would be that when you go to vote, you acknowledge what your party affiliation is.
Mhm.
You cast a vote, but
Mhm.
that doesn't indicate who
Who
you
you voted
voted
for?
for, right?
Right,
So they can maybe tally that piece. Well, hey, we've had this many registered voters vote. We don't know who they voted for.
right,
So, but presumably they voted for their own party.
right.
But this is where I was going to go with that was like, well, if there are a large number of Democrats who are voting for the Republicans, then or maybe Democrats switched parties this go round,
Yeah.
and so that's why we're seeing a higher number of early voters because they were former Democrats and now they're
Could be.
Republicans. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but we shall see. But it does seem like it's a reasonable counter to what we saw.
Mhm.
I think because my early prediction was we're going to see a large Trump lead
Uh-huh.
throughout the day, and then we're going to get a massive dump of these mail-in votes that's going to bring it up. Now, is it going to be enough? I don't know. However, I would maybe counter myself and say that there's going to be a lot of people that do that mail-in voting stuff and they stay home and
Yeah.
they don't bother voting this time around.
Yeah.
Before they thought it was a much bigger deal and much bigger, thing to just vote against Donald Trump in 2020,
Hmm.
and then now they don't look at it that way. Now they're just like, "I this is terrible. I don't want to vote for these crazy, insane, like extreme Democrats,
Yeah.
but I'm not voting." So
Oh man, and how about this? How bad has this McDonald's thing gotten into their freaking heads?
yeah, I mean, I think it's a silly move to do, but it's such like a Trump provocative
Yeah,
thing
but
to
why
do.
not? I mean, what did it do? It 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 focused the whole 24-hour news cycle on him because they didn't talk about anything. Whether they were talking about it positively or negatively,
Yeah.
it was focused squarely on what he did. And of course, Kamala decided 14 days out that she was going to take a day off today of campaigning.
Mm.
So obviously that shows you right there,
She's
her
resigned.
her seriousness level of doing this when you got 14 days left in which you yourself have said is a razor thin margin election, and you're going to take a day off
I
and then
think
and
she's
then come out and question if Donald Trump has the energy and has the
it's hilarious to see people calling Trump out for his lack of energy, or they say he's slurring his words and
yeah.
can't function. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's
Um,
ridiculous. It's more I mean, and the sad thing is they're pandering, but the only people that are listening are the ones that already were not going to vote for Donald Trump. Nobody
yeah,
else is listening to this noise because
exactly.
that's all it is at this point.
Yep.
I mean, you've seen, I'll use the VP's candidates as an example. I mean, I've seen JD Vance on TV almost every day. I haven't
Mm.
seen Tim Walz in like 3 weeks.
Uh, Probably after that debate, it's probably
Yeah.
been since that debate that they're like, "Hey, you didn't do us any favors.
So
We're
who? So
gonna."
my thing is like who in their right mind? One, you've seen how Kamala Harris talks when she's at these. I don't even know if you can call them rallies because most of them haven't been. They've just been like, whatever interviews with podcasts and whatever. I know she's doing a sit down with I think CNN tomorrow, and I think she might be doing a town hall. I'm not sure. Like on the 12th or like the day or 2 days before the election or something. Um, but everyone's heard her speak. Everyone knows she's not going to answer the questions she's asked. It's too
Yep,
late. You had your
it is.
chance. And
Yeah.
Waltz, I don't know anything about the guy other than, the problem is they've completely let the other side, they've completely let the Republican side tell the American people who they are.
Yep.
I mean, if they're happy with that, then fine. But
Well, I think the media is doing their best job to kind of counter and portray them to whatever they want. They try to deny,
yeah,
Kamala Harris's responsibility as the borders are. Like,
yeah,
they try to mold the narrative, even though it's inaccurate. And when she gets called out on it, she has no defense. And so I don't think there's anything they can do.
no,
Um,
I think it's too late.
yeah, which, going back to the Trump McDonald's thing, yeah, I think it ultimately did work out in his favor, like you said. If I was looking at it, I think, if the Democrats did it, if
Mhm.
Kamala Harris went to, or let's say Tim Harris. Kamala Harris isn't a good example because she has that whole history with McDonald's.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Let's
right.
just,
Her long storied career with them.
yeah, yeah. So, but if Tim Walz did it, um, I would say this is super silly and he's pandering, and because obviously, what's the point? It's one thing to go visit people, like when he went to the Chick-fil-A thing, he went to
Mhm.
visit people and shake
Right.
hands and meet the community and that kind of thing. Cool. To go and like put on an apron and pretend to work like you're one
Yeah.
of them, I think is pandering, and nobody's going to buy that this billionaire is, going to relate to the lower middle class, if you can give them
Mm.
that. Um, so I would give them the same crap. So, but it was almost just like a trolling bit. Like
Yeah.
that's all he did. Yeah, I love when he said it. What, he's worked 15 more minutes than Kamala Harris has at McDonald's. I
As a
think I
McDonald's employee.
see now. I do think that she should have done it. I think she should have done it, and that would have
Mm.
been like, hey, because we talked about this. Look, I'm not above this. I can do this, and
Yeah.
let me. You don't believe me? Whatever. Fine. I'm gonna go do it anyway. Like I feel like that would have been maybe one of her
Yeah.
shots. Her shots in
Well,
the dark.
I think she's realizing, to be perfectly honest, uh, her miscalculation of not going to that Catholic dinner, uh, uh, which is I think really coming back to bite her in the ass, um, because they haven't stopped talking about the fact that she wasn't there. That she's the first presidential candidate since like 1942 or whatever that hasn't been to it. Um, I mean, that's what the news cycle is. The news cycle is, wow, we can't believe she wasn't there. And then to have, somebody from Hollywood who was there, who was basically roasting her the whole time because she wasn't there, just kind of puts a cap on it. But I think that their missteps are definitely catching up to them, and they've made a lot.
I think
And unfortunately for them, they're all catching up at one time, and it's close to the election.
I think it's they're showing their utter weakness because Donald Trump has been showing her up
Yeah,
for months now.
yeah,
He went to the Arlington National Ceremony, or Arlington National Cemetery ceremony that they had.
hmm
That's where it was, right?
yes.
And then he
And
went
she
to
didn't
this.
show.
Right. He went to she's afraid of him, but also, he's willing to do that. He's willing to talk to not Netanyahu. He's talking to Putin. Talking to Zelensky at least.
hmm
He is talking with Elon. He's
hmm
talking with, all these organizations and people who are planning to continue work with the government. The manufacturers, the John Deere companies,
Yeah,
getting them and saying, "Look, hey, under my administration, this isn't going to fly. You might want to reconsider building outside the United States."
yeah.
He is setting himself up, and she is doing nothing,
Nope.
nothing to do that. And I, th- I know the majority of people are not that connected. They're not seeing all of this, but I still think that they're swayed by what's hitting them in the face every day at the gas pump and at the grocery
Yeah,
store.
100%.
So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, and it's again, it's just too late because now
Yeah.
today they came out that she's doing something to try to pander the Jewish vote. Well, your whole
You missed that vote.
your whole pro Palestinian stance the entire election is not going to help you with that.
Yeah.
She's trying to pander to her lack of or her reduction in the black vote by now all of a sudden yesterday coming out and saying, well, I'm going to push for legalizing marijuana federally.
Hmm.
And like one, okay, you're putting your own quote unquote your own community. You're saying that the only thing that they care about is that weed is legal federally. I mean, that's what you think they care about on a day-to-day basis. No, they don't. And they she's all but stopped talking about the border. because she just can't defend it. So I just think it's too late. I think that they had a terrible game plan for their campaign. Now, what's going to be funny is the day after the election, if Trump wins,
Hmm.
how fast do you think all the TV, MSNBC, CNN, CBS, ABC, all of them are going to be like, well, we knew she wasn't a strong candidate all along, but we had, because you're going to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you
Yeah,
guys,
they're
you all heard it here first. I'm telling you right now, the day after the election, that's the first thing I'm going to do is turn on MSNBC. And other than the, oh my God, Trump's president again, you're going to hear, but we knew Kamala was a weak candidate, and you know, but she was the best choice, and we had to put her forward.
Well, I
We just
think
had,
that no, I think they're going to back away from that. I think they're going to say we knew, and I was advocating against
yeah,
um what do you call it? What implanting or whatever
her candidacy.
her candidacy, just like they said, oh well, I was against Biden running the whole time.
Yeah,
I was definitely for him getting it, dropping out of the race the whole
yeah,
time.
right. But
That's
we have 35 clips on YouTube that show you saying the exact opposite.
yeah. Yeah, so I think they're just going to try to save face and say, "Oh well, yeah, they messed up and they should have actually had a democratic process to select a
Yeah.
better
Oh, yeah.
candidate."
Well,
Uh,
Nancy Pelosi came out today and said that we should have had a primary. Well,
install,
you're the
install is
one
the
that
term I meant.
freaking
Yeah,
you're the one that convinced Joe not to run.
convinced.
Yeah. Well.
I'm sure she did convince him in a very threatening manner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
don't know. I don't think the presidential election is going to be as close as everyone, as all these pundits would have you believe. I could be
yeah.
wrong. I could be
No, I
wrong.
really don't think I don't think it is either. But that's what we're seeing in this poly market. The actual betting field,
Hmm.
Trump has a more than 20-point lead at this point, and he was
Yeah.
just maybe up 3 points. I want to say he was down for a small period of time, and now he's up over 20 points
Yeah.
in the betting market. That is pretty telling. Now, I heard on one discussion or one broadcast that is all foreign, and it was just from some left winger who was making that claim to another
Yeah.
left winger.
Well, it's easy to make a claim when you're not ever going to be challenged to back it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. It could have been true. It may be true. I don't think so, though. Why would it be? Why would it be limited to people that are foreign?
Well, and why would foreign people put millions of dollars down in betting if they didn't believe it was true?
Yeah, I think it's yes, but they would also try to influence the if somebody
Eh,
people with
I don't know if I'd be willing to drop $1 million of my own money just on the hopes that I convince people to vote.
well, there's plenty of people that are still putting money behind Kamala.
Yeah, well, okay.
It's not 100 to nothing. It's 60-40 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
something to that effect. So 40% of people are still betting on her.
Well,
Good luck.
those are just people trying to cash in on the underdog.
There was a small period of time where she was favored, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'll take that bet. I definitely should have.
Well,
But
her problem is she peaked. She really peaked at the debate, because think about what's happened since the debate for her. Absolutely nothing positive. Like, there hasn't been. I can't point to one single thing since the debate that anybody has said that's been glowing of anything that she's done since then. And not even necessarily that the debate was glowing, but she had a
what?
good night. She had a good night as far as the standard was set for her.
Yeah, but my biggest problem with that is everybody across the aisle, up and down, tried to give her that. They
Yeah.
just they said because the bar was set so low, like you said, with she is obviously going to perform better than Biden. She has the opportunity to kind of like put to take jabs at Trump, and if he takes the bait,
Yeah.
then she gets the upper hand. But still, if you, I don't know how they gave her the win on a performance basis. That's
Right.
all it was.
Right.
Like
Because she
that's all
didn't
that
win
matters.
anything.
No, it was 100% full of lies. It was the same issue with being fact checked or not. There was no actual real fact checking. It was still only Trump, and it yes, Trump did maybe falter a couple times, but she lied through the whole thing and just
Mhm.
or spewed nonsense. She performatively performed well. Like she
Right.
looked good, sounded good. She made eye contact with him where he refused to make eye contact. I'll give her the edge. But on the substance of the
Right.
debate,
Yeah.
you cannot give her a win. But
Right.
everybody on the right was trying to give her, they just wanted to say, hey, oh, yeah, I think she won. She actually won. She sounded good. She did. It was basically, like I said, because the bar was set so low for her.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. But going back to it, since then, I challenge anyone to point to an interview, um, a talking point, anything that she's done since then that has done anything to even push any momentum that she potentially had coming out of that forward. She hasn't. She
Maybe,
peaked. She
maybe
peaked.
stealing Trump's policies, maybe.
Well, yeah, but everyone
It's-
called her out. I mean, everyone
yeah.
called her out for that. I mean, calling in Liz Cheney to sit by your side is not going to help you get any
Well,
extra.
but yeah, but that's how you frame it. And and that's why she benefits from low information voters because she doesn't have to, she only has to sound good. She doesn't actually have to rely on real substance. She can steal good economic policies like letting people keep their own money and
Yeah.
take them for her own. And hey, good. If that's her policy and she wins with that, at least I hope she stands by it because that is good for people. Let people keep their own money.
Well, and that's the thing, though. And, keep in mind, we have her Senate record. We know how she voted in the Senate on things. We've seen her as the vice president and her action and/or inaction, whichever you choose to use, because they're virtually interchangeable. Because she really did nothing to do nothing, um, and so we know what she is. We know historically what she is. So if you honestly think that, oh, if I'm elected president, all of a sudden I've changed my mind about fracking, I've changed my mind about uh, the border, I've changed my mind about my fucking camera dropped out again.
Yeah,
So can you still hear me
I can hear you.
with that terrible picture on the screen?
You
Um,
look like Alec Baldwin doing Trump.
All right. Hold on. Keep talking, Jimmy.
Okay. Well, I'll try to cover for Chris while he's resolving his camera. And I'm just gonna say that I think it's gonna be there. I'm just gonna go with what I said from the get go. The Democrats have failed all across the board, all the way up, and it's gonna be a very clear win. What I was gonna ask you, Chris,
Uh huh.
is because we think it's going to be a lopsided victory. Um, will we actually know the results pretty quickly? Because I think the expectation has been set that we're going to be waiting days to find out who won the election.
The only reason that I don't think that is because I think it's going to be over before we get to that point. So in other words, the states that historically have taken forever, which were the
Yeah,
determining factors,
yeah.
I think that they're going to be. I don't think that they're going to matter as much.
I think
Um,
I'm with you. I don't think that the swing states that are there. Um, I think there's going to be enough in the favor to call it. There's going to be enough lopsided victories that the all of the mail-in stuff is not going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah,
I
I
think he's
agree.
going to pull enough of the battleground states that, like you said, it's not going to matter.
Right.
They're
And
not
I think,
all going to be up in the
yeah,
air.
it's not gonna come down to. I'm not even sure it's gonna come down to Pennsylvania. Uh,
How
which
about
will be
how
which will be one of the early calls. Well, which will be one of the early states because it's an East Coast state. Um, I'm guessing that if Pennsylvania, because if I remember correctly, their polls close at 8 or 9 uh, at night, and
mm,
so when their poll, by the time they finish counting, you're already going to have Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan. Those are already going to be in.
you think so?
I think so.
You think I
Georgia,
feel like
Georgia's going to take a few.
Arizona, Nevada, they take forever. They're West Coast.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that. I don't know.
You think it's
I just don't have the feeling that it's gonna. I don't think it. Yes, if they're waiting on counting uh, votes, mail-in votes, then yes, those mail-in votes won't be counted late. But I'm not sure that that's even going to matter. I'm not sure that there's going to be. They know how many mail-in ballots they have. They know. So if the number is already higher, if Trump has numbers that are higher than the amount of ballots that they know that they have to count, it's over.
Well, they're probably going to have to get that because we know 100% of them will be Biden's that they pull out of the
Yeah,
box.
exactly. Miraculously.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how many people actually vote for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I did say Biden. All the mail-in ones probably are Biden. Yeah. I'm still stuck on that.
Yeah.
Um, how awesome would it be though for New York to flip just kind of out of nowhere?
Yeah.
And it's such a long shot and not going to happen. But
Yeah. California is a foregone conclusion. We already know
yeah,
that
yeah.
there is absolutely 0% chance that Trump even is in the game there.
I do think the only reason though that like New York is going to be as lopsided as it is blue is because people don't vote because they think their vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that just say, "We are such a blue state, I'm not going to vote." I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of states like that. I think Maryland might be like that.
Oh, Maryland's
Well,
100%
actually, and
like
I would
that.
say a lot of the blue states are like that because they're so controlled
Yeah.
by these population dense cities. I
Well,
think
and
California.
I think that that's what makes Pennsylvania always so interesting, is that even though they have Pittsburgh and Philly, which are solid, almost solid blue in most
Yeah,
cases,
yeah,
the population in the rest of the state can match them.
barely. Yes.
Barely, but that's what makes it.
I feel like California would
If you
almost be the
swing
same
two
way.
percent, if you swing 2% in each one of those cities in Pennsylvania, if Trump gets 2% higher in Philadelphia and 2% higher in Pittsburgh, and the rest of the state votes like they did last time, he wins Pennsylvania. Because I think it was only 11,000 votes he won by, or he lost by in Pennsylvania last time.
Mm.
So a 2% in each one of those cities, and he won Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and isn't like Fetterman kind of supporting Trump too? I don't know. I feel
I don't know. He's obviously not supporting Trump, but I don't. He's certainly not out there on the stump for Harris.
yeah. No, he's not.
Although I
Yeah,
think he did do a thing with Tim Walz not too long ago. But
well,
I don't know.
if they split up California into 2 or 3 states, I guarantee that there'd only be one of them winning
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah.
That's kind of the other thing is like I hear people like Crystal Ball talk about eliminating the electoral college. I think Tim Walz even says that it's time to go.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren or any of those people talk about that. And then Um, but I think that still would be bad. There's people vote that way because they want an entire majority. They think they say their argument is why does somebody's vote in California not matter as much as somebody's in Wyoming or Nebraska or
Right.
whatever it is? And one, that's wrong. There's a reason why the Electoral College exists.
For that
But
reason, exactly.
I would just say, hey, okay, how about we just narrow it down then? How about if you want more people's vote to matter, let's just go by county. Let's just go by winning each county, and
Hmm.
then let's break it up that way. That'll give everybody's vote. But guess what? There would be like 90-10 in the
Yeah.
red to blue counties.
Yeah.
That would, I
100%.
mean,
Well,
I mean, I
always
guess,
look at the map. Look at the map after an election.
yeah,
I mean, generally speaking, all but 4 states are red,
yep.
and the other 4 states are blue. Yeah, I'm of course I'm over exaggerating. It can definitely be more than 4, but it's not more than 10.
I think if you break it out by county, it may not even be, and there may not be any blue states.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Each county gets an electoral vote, and
Yeah,
they can be broken out independently. So you have a state like California that has what, 100 and something electoral votes. Uh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
each county, 60 of them could be red, and 70 of them could be blue. I don't think that would be the split, but I'm just using it as an example.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think everybody wants to change the system when it's not working in their favor at the time. So,
Well, that in effect would be the popular vote. I mean, really, if you do it by county.
I mean, not really, because
Right,
if I
not
was
it's not
looking at,
each individual vote.
yeah,
I get
yeah,
that. But
but
you're bringing
I think it
I
would
feel
change the popular vote. I think people would vote because they feel like their vote would matter more.
yeah.
More people would vote in rural counties or whatever when they realize that, oh, they can actually represent their county rather than I'm going up against everybody in the entire state. Or in Frederick County, I'm
Yeah.
going up against Baltimore and Montgomery County,
Yeah.
Prince George's County, whatever. So it does make a lot of people I know here. Why does my vote matter? It's not going to matter.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually like more excited about this election over the last couple of weeks than I have been all year, um, because it is getting down to it, and I do feel like there is absolutely 100% a surge going one way, and an absolute decline going the other way. And I mean, you don't even have to. You can look at polls, but even the polls that historically, and I think I said this last week, there was a poll. I can't remember which one it is now. Marist, maybe, which is one of the more reputable ones that they always use, where Biden, when Biden was going against Trump, Biden was up by 9 at this point, and then he ended up winning the election by like 0.5%. So they had him up 9, but he only won. Well, in that same poll that was taken this year at this time, Kamala's only up by 0.5%.
Hmm.
And so if history tells you, based on historic history of this particular poll, he's probably actually winning.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, and it had and also the interesting thing is they've changed the polls. Normally the margin of error on these polls is like 3 to 3.5 percentage points either way. Well, all of a sudden, miraculously, about 3 months ago, they started changing it where now the margin of error is 6.5, 7 points.
Well, I think it is very high just because I think these polling groups are very small
Yeah.
subsets of people.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and this poll was also D plus 6.
mm,
Do you know what that means?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's like 6 Democrats to every Republican that were polled. And if
mm,
she's only winning by half a percentage point with a D plus 6,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that that's telling you something. So,
yeah, yep. No, I think it's not looking good, but it's finally coming down to it. We're getting close. I think everybody at this point is ready for it, just to rip off the band-aid, get it done. I mean, who doesn't know who they're voting for at this point? If you don't know, just don't
yeah.
go vote. You probably shouldn't be voting is all I'm saying. Like if you are conflicted at all, like you have your morals, your principles,
Mm,
they're very evidently clear in these two candidates. They're
right.
very opposing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no overlap or conflict with where these two stand.
No.
They're diametrically opposed.
Yep.
So,
And
hey,
so
real
yeah,
real
what
quick on a local um, thing that we've talked about in the past, and it's been a while because you know how trials and stuff take a lot of time. I don't know if you all remember, but we talked about our sheriff here, Chuck Jenkins, who was indicted with the owner of a uh,
rifle
shooting
range,
range,
shooting
rifle
range.
range, for fraud and a whole bunch of other things. Well, Chuck Jenkins' trial is not until January of this year, but uh, Mr. Kropp, the guy who owns the firing range, his trial was this week. What was actually last week. It ended yesterday, and the jury deliberated yesterday. I'm just going to say right now, I called it. He was
Hmm.
acquitted of all 5 charges, and it was so bad that they talked about how the prosecution tried to add language into the law that wasn't there. And I think I talked about it on the show. What they were trying to get him for was to say, so the crux of it, real quick, was, a range can get certain types of automatic weapons if the sheriff in that county signs a letter saying that it's for a demonstration for law enforcement. So what they tried to do is say that he got these weapons and he never did it. He never did a demonstration for law enforcement. So they defrauded the ATF by allowing them to get these weapons. That's the crux of the case. The problem is there's nowhere in the law, and I said this before. I said this a year ago. There's nowhere in the law where it says that this has to happen in any amount of time. In other words, it's not saying yes, once you have the weapons, the demonstration has to take place in 3 months or 6 months or a year or 5 years. It doesn't say it. They tried to say that, oh, they defrauded us because they haven't done the demonstration. The law clearly does not delineate that there is a timeline that they have to perform this. And that's effectively why the jury found them not guilty. So Chuck Jenkins' trial is supposed to be January 27th. My guess is on January 26th, they're going to fucking throw it out. Or they're going to dismiss all their charges against him because they're going to go through exactly the same thing.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I hope that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I I did see that the owner of the range was cleared of all charges. However, from what I recall, they intentionally separated themselves. I think they tried to distance themselves from the sheriff and the police department initially so that, I guess maybe the decision to work together wouldn't be impacted by him. So I'm not so sure that the sheriff will be cleared.
Well, keep in mind they already dropped 2 or 3 of the same charges that they had against the owner they already dropped those against Sheriff Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
So he's only facing the fraud charge and one other charge that Kropp was acquitted of today.
Gotcha.
So
Well, like I said,
he's not facing the same five. And I think the separation, I'm not sure which party argued for that, but it's never, first of all, it's never good to be tried together.
yeah, sure.
That's never good. And, you know, there's been several like murder cases where there's like 4 defendants and they try them all together. And if one's convicted, they're all convicted.
Yeah.
And so it's never a good idea. It's always a good idea to try to get it. Second, the guy who represented Mr. Kropp, I don't know if he's also Sheriff Jenkins' attorney, but it was Dan Cox who ran for governor
Mm-hmm.
last cycle. And again, he was acquitted of all the charges. And the major argument that was made was, where in the law does it say that there's a timeline for this to happen? How is there fraud if there's no delineated, time frame? You can't commit a fraud if, there's no specifics to what that fraud is.
Right.
So, and I think Chuck Jenkins is gonna, I don't think he'll see the inside of a courtroom or a jury. I think that January 26th, because they love to wait until the last day, and they may be working now to see if they can get some sort of plea deal from him or something, because their case is so weak. And this, keep in mind, this was a Maryland jury on a gun case. We all know, and in Baltimore. So we all know how they feel about the Second Amendment. We all know how they feel about, gun ranges and those types of things. And they acquitted this guy.
Right.
So, and it was only 5 hours of deliberation. So it's not like they took a ton of time to figure it out.
Yeah, they were pretty set and clear. Now, and that was, I was going to get to that as my point, but I think, like I said, I hope, and I'm sure you're right, that the sheriff shouldn't have much of a problem. And I just hope that's the case. I do worry a little bit about Maryland, but ultimately, what did this boil down to in the first place? This was a whole bunch of nonsense in the first place. One, the Second Amendment should cover this completely.
Yeah.
There are laws on the books about automatic weapons and things like that. There shouldn't be. There really shouldn't be. And I say there shouldn't be, not even as a moral statement. I mean, from a constitutional standpoint, there is no restriction. Shall not be infringed is very, very clear.
Yeah.
So what did this boil down to? A gun range tried to acquire some guns.
Yeah. Well, it was 100%
internal use, not for sale to citizens.
Right.
For internal use. And they maybe tried to exploit some loopholes at worst.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a gun range.
Yeah.
They're using it for commercial use, commercial purposes. Holy crap. This was the big ridiculous deal. I don't get it.
Well, it was 100% you got to remember, Chuck Jenkins is virtually, well, he may be the only conservative sheriff in the state of Maryland. That may not be true. There may be like one other one, like out in Allegheny County or something.
I would hope law enforcement tends to lean that way, but I don't know.
Yeah, they don't. Like the Montgomery County sheriff is not that way. He's all about, gun bans and all that shit. But
only for other people, not for him.
Yeah, of course, because he carries one daily. But I think that Chuck is, if he's not the only one, there's only maybe one or two other in the entire state of Maryland that are conservative. And Chuck's got the loudest, quite frankly, Chuck's got the loudest voice. He's, he's testified in front of Congress. He's testified at the Maryland House in opposition to any of their Second Amendment policies or laws that they tried to create. He's testified in the U.S. Congress about working with ICE and the how he works with them to get ICE detainers on prisoners in Frederick County. So he has a big target on his back as far as the state of Maryland is concerned, because he is for absolutely everything that these liberal politicians that we have are against. So, and he's outspoken about it. I'm not sure any of the other sheriffs are. I mean, I would think that if they were, I would know their names, but I don't. So I don't know. But he is definitely outspoken about it. When I interviewed him, 2 years ago, he was very outspoken and very clear on his stance with illegal immigration. He was very outspoken and very clear on his stance with the Second Amendment. He's not afraid to say it. And so he had a target on his back.
That's true.
But there's also a reason why I think he's the first sheriff in the history of Frederick County to be elected 5 times. So.
Yep. He is very polarizing in the sense that lots of people like him and lots of people hate him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
fortunately, in this county, a lot of people like him.
Yep. That's good.
But yeah, all right. So we're 2 weeks out. We will do a show next week, 1 week out, and then I'm thinking, and this is just me, we do a live stream on election night.
On the night, we shall see. It should be a holiday, right?
I mean, you would think, right?
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that's. So we do a show. We did a show tonight. We do a show next Tuesday, just as a primer, and then we do a live on. Now, I say we do a live. We're live right now on Kick and YouTube, but putting it out there early, we do a lot. We do a full-fledged live, and I'll get Facebook back on there too, so it's on Facebook Live as well. On election night, and just follow the election as it goes. I don't know how late Jimmy can stay up on Tuesday night, but
yeah, I do have an early bedtime, but we'll see. Maybe I'll call out Wednesday.
So that's.
No. Oh, I just thought about that. Okay, sorry, I have something big at work on Wednesday that I may want to cancel. That could be bad.
That
could be bad. It could be a rough day for people. I don't know. Yeah, that may be something that we want to hold off. Anyway, yeah. We'll see what happens. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. So next Tuesday, we'll be back next Tuesday. We won't do a Friday show, just so. I have a feeling a lot. Yeah, I'm still waiting for an October surprise, one way or the other. So we'll see if that happens in the next week, and then we'll do a show on Tuesday next week, and then I think the plan will be to do a live on Facebook, YouTube, and Kick on election night, because I think it's going to be early enough. I think the call is going to be early enough.
Well, I know, there'll be a lot of live shows, but we'll be right there watching them. We'll be right there looking and analyzing and seeing what's going on.
Yep. So, hey,
tune in.
If you're undecided, I don't know what to tell you at this point, but we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
There you go.
All right. See ya.
Later.